The first part of building your personal brand is to understand exactly what others think of you, your friends, colleagues, or the extended ones. Unlike in the past, today we have social medias. So simple questions on your Facebook of things that your friends know you for will give you an insight of your direction. First, for example, what are the unique things that your friends connect with you in terms of values? And what sort of idea do they have of you? A simple survey can give you an insight, and that insight is very essential to move forward. And if you don't have that insight, in building a personal brand is almost impossible, because that insight drives you to who you are, what sort of essence, what sort of tone you should have, what sort of value you should deliver, and what sort of experience I should go through when I'm in touch with you, whether at work, whether through friendship, whether through events. Your personal brand needs to be very consistent. And that's what most people are missing these days. They are confused between fame and personal brand. Personal brand delivers value, fame is just a noise. If you want a noise, it's a lot different. It doesn't take that much effort. It's just a simple thing that you appear on TV or you appear on social media with a picture. But the point is this: what impact are you going to make to society? What impact are you going to make to yourself? Now here we're taking several steps. I'm going to walk you through. And it's that simple. Once you identify the values from the insights, whether they're functional values or emotional values, you move forward. So how do you find this? Go to your Facebook, ask a very simple question. A very simple question. Ask your friends who are closer to you, what idea do you have of me? And look at the similarities. Take that first part. Once you're done with that part, move to the second part. But first, divide your groups. Your friends and family, one group. Colleagues, second group. Third are those that are distant friends or they're acquainted. So once you have these three groups, use different methods in reaching them. Facebook is one of them, if all three of groups are on your Facebook. But try to use that setup where you can do different privacies and different types of groups to ask, rather than generally in public. Once you get that insight of the first part, which is what idea do you have of me, and they list those ideas, move to the second part. What values do they connect with you? What sort of values? And identify those values. But look at all the comments and all the reviews you're getting. Find out the similarities and get closer to those similarities. Don't fetch far, get closer. For example, if someone says you're kind, or someone says you're a giver, or someone says you go out of your way, find the similarities, find out how many people say the same thing. These insights are datas. Data is about you, your way forward. Once you identify this, next is, who are you? Now most people get confused about who you are. And it's very important that you look at this part. Who are you? That's your essence. That is your essence. Who are you is basically what you're going to stand for. How do I describe you? And what sort of values do you hold? And what sort of impact do you give me? So who are you has two sides of it. There's the functional side of it and the emotional side of it. The functional side of it is how I describe you when I meet you. The emotional side of it is how do I feel and how do you appear towards me. How do you appear towards me? Now, in order dividing this, let's find out the first part of who are you. How do you describe yourself? How would you describe yourself? And how do friends describe you? You need to identify that. How you describe yourself, then compare it how friends describe you, and how your colleague describe you, and how your your extended friends or acquaintance describe you. Then take the second part of who are you. What sort of values are these people buying from you? Your friends and family, what sort of values are they connecting with you? Your colleagues, what sort of values? Keep them functional, keep them very logic values. The third part is your acquaintance. What sort of values are they connecting with you? Every time they remember of such values, they remember you. Once you have those, let's move to the second part, which is very important. How do they feel towards you? Ask them, what sort of feeling do they get when they connect with you? Ask all the 3 different groups you started with. Then take the second part, how do you appear towards them? And ask all three different groups the same thing. Use your social media or one-to-one, whatever you want to do. You want to do a survey in a cafe, invite all of them over coffee, do it. But at the point where we are right now, who are you? You have 4 parts. You need to find out how you describe your personal self and how other people describe you, the 3 different groups. What sort of values do you appear with the 3 different groups? And how do they feel towards you? And how do you appear in front of them? These you need to identify before even going forward. This is all about your essence. It's about the core of who you are. Once you find out the relevant now, which is very essential. How relevant are all these towards you? Now you need to be very true to yourself. I am being very true, very sincere. Sincere to the heart, not sincere to anyone. You're not here to please anyone. You need to be very honest and true to yourself. For example, my term of who I am is one word. I've identified it in the past from doing the 4 different groups of surveys. And I've done it for a number of years. My term in one word is called eccentric. And that's who I am by nature, and not something that I've personally designed to become an eccentric person. It's my nature. I like to create. I like things that are totally not in place, out of the norm. But that's who I am. That's how I've been my whole entire life journey, whether it was in college and after. But I'm very comfortable that I'm an eccentric. It's me. It's who I am. And that exactly thing is what you need to find out. It's not something that you want to portray. It's not something that you want to create. No, who you are is something who you are personally. That's your essence. Your essence. That's the key word. So once you find out the 4 different groups, you're going to break them to keywords. So all the values, for example, how you appear and how people feel about you and how you describe yourself, you need to come up with a keyword that will hold all this together, which forms an idea, for example. So an eccentric for me, and what would it be for you? It might take you a while, but you need to break it down. This is all about personal brand. It's not a simple exercise, it's a hard exercise. But with passion, results come, right? Now, since we talked about who you are and what would be the key word, the next part is, what sort of idea are you going to sell yourself into the public? Remember, we were all born human. All human. We still are human. That's our shape, our form. But we are ideas. We develop into ideas. But if you don't develop into idea and you're still basically a human and continue to be a human, where are you going to head with your career or your life? Nowhere. Because what people buy from you as a person is your idea. What sort of idea have you composed around yourself? But it has to be still true. Right? So let's go back and say, who am I? I'm eccentric as Baaghil. And what sort of idea am I? I'm an unconventional idea. Now find out the relevance between the two, the connection, the relationship between the two, eccentricity and unconventional. Very strong, right? So you need to be consistent. So come back. And how do you define who are you? I've already walked you through this. Now when you define what's your idea, this is totally about how people perceive you. Now don't try to create something else. Go back to the survey and ask people, what sort of idea do they have of you? But then again, once you get that survey, it's only a data. Don't let that data drive you. Data is data. Data needs action. Action is what you're going to make with that data. So relatively, you know from that data and what sort of idea you are to people and what sort of idea you are to yourself. So who knows better self, you or them? You. So you need to come up with that certain idea. It should not be dictated to you. Again, we've done the insight, we've done who are you, now we've done the idea. Next, for example, is what sort of values are you going to connect to those ideas, to the idea of who you are? They need to be functional value and they need to be emotional value. The functional value are logic values. They sustain the continuous growth of who you are. The emotional are the instant connection. So if I have an emotional value, what would that value be? My values are very clear. My emotional value, honesty, integrity, transparency. That's my total personal brand values. My functional values, expertise, eccentric, and drive. So if you look at the functional values and you look at the emotional values, I'm an expert on a subject, which is brand marketing and branding. That's what I do all day. That's what people know me for. That's what people connect me with. These are functional values. But my emotional value also is that I'm honest, transparency. You're going to hear from me what it is. There's nothing to sugarcoat. And those things are what you're going to connect with. So if you want an honest answer during the reviews that I'm doing for your brand, you're going to hear it from me. That if you want total transparency in terms of what we do, you're going to hear it from me. And if you want integrity, that's all I do. I work with integrity. I would not accept anything that I don't believe in, whether if it's $1 million in front of me. I would not. So identify your three functional values, 3 emotional values, identify the 3 different emotional values, identify the 3 different functional values. If you are a life coach, for example, what are the 3 different functional values you think? Improving life, stability, leadership. What are the emotional values? Happiness, whatever. I can't even think of the other 3 for a life coach. I'm not a life coach. But so you have to have 3 different values here and there. And you need to connect those 3 different values. Once you do that, now comes the most important part, which is very essential. What's your purpose? But you gotta have a purpose to move forward. What's your purpose? Now, if you don't have a purpose, it's gonna be a huge problem here in terms of your personal brand. If your purpose is to make money, you will never make money. You will not make money. Everyone that runs to make money with a purpose of making money ends up making no money. But if your purpose is some sort of an impact, always remember, purpose drives impact. So if your purpose is to impact community, whatever that purpose might be, delivering certain values that you hold, both the emotional and functional values, then you will create an experience with people. People are going to start identifying you. Without a purpose, you won't be able to move forward. You won't be able to do a lot of things. And that is a problem. So let's take an example. What's my purpose? My purpose is to create value in whatever I do. I work with startups. I have consultancy app, and I also have a thought leader app. And I also have Baaghil, which is a knowledge and coaching. So what's my value? My purpose is to create value across all startups in today's talent to become tomorrow's leaders. So my purpose is clear values. So I have to have a purpose to go forward. So what sort of experience am I delivering out of that purpose? Experience is everything that you touch. Whether if it's the product you're selling, the idea that you have for a business, or whatever you bring up front or in front of the client or your prospects. So for example, I'm in the business of advisory empowering. So I have Ask Baaghil, which is a knowledge coaching platform, askbaaghil.com. And if you come closer to me on Ask Baaghil, you're going to find out my values are there. Because I teach you the knowledge of brand marketing and branding. I share that knowledge, and that's the value I deliver to you. But then look at what I do every day. I commit myself on LinkedIn. So I deliver the values of what? Brand marketing and branding, because I want to educate the region in terms of the right way of form of brand, marketing and branding. And not what we see hypothetically within the market today, the real essence of it. So I have also Take Answers, which is a consultancy app that connects both you as a startup and experts from different fields, where they can give you an advice of how to move forward, because a lot of startups cannot afford expensive consultants, and that's a reality. That's a value there. So I'm delivering a value. So you need to have a purpose. Once you identify the purpose and you deliver the value, it's the time of your tone. Your voice. Your voice needs to be there. The voice does not mean loud. It doesn't mean loud in tone, but loud. My voice is loud. For example, I am loud. I pitch higher when not only when I speak, but also when I write. I'm vibrant. So you need to have that tone in there. So what sort of tone do you plan to hold when you communicate? And that tone needs to be very consistent, extremely consistent. I'm a very provocative in my tone. That's my tone. Whether I write it, whether I speak it, I'm provocative. That's my tone. So we take all this that we talked about. Who are you? Your idea. What sort of idea you're creating for yourself? What sort of idea you're creating for yourself? What sort of things, purpose, and the sort of experience you're going to deliver, and the values. You take all those and you need to put them on your communication platforms. You need to be very consistent. That does not mean that your picture on LinkedIn should be the same picture on Instagram. It's just two different platforms, two different natures, and two different audience. It won't make sense. So you start with LinkedIn, what we call semi-corporate or corporate, but you don't have to be the formal corporate. You don't have to be the traditional corporate. You need to apply the image that is relevant to the idea you've created for yourself. Like I said, unconventional is my idea. So that's the idea that I'm going to create on my profile picture. Then when I write my bio needs to be eccentric and conventional. LinkedIn is just a tool. Whatever you put in there is the idea you're forming for myself, and the idea I'm forming for myself for you to perceive. Go to Instagram. So you have a small little part in Instagram there. So your profile picture and that message in there has to be relevant to the platform, but very consistent to who you are, the idea you're presenting of yourself, the values you're delivering, and your purpose. You cannot go further than that, but you're going to change a bit. Your tone is much more friendlier. For example, on Instagram, I sound more of a traveler, but globally. But still, I look more. It looks more unconventional. It looks unconventional. You can feel the eccentricity in there. But when you look at Facebook, you still feel the same way too, but more calmer. But the consistency is across all three different platforms. Now, when you apply these, you have to be very careful. Your guideline is what you've crafted for yourself as your personal brand strategy. I've simplified all this. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of steps, but I have summarized all this, 5 different steps or 6, so you can understand through this video, what is it that we want to deliver? And once you finish your LinkedIn and your Twitter and your Instagram profile, comes the second part. What sort of tone do you want to deliver And you need to be very consistent in that tone. Not every day you're going to come up with something. Even things you share, you need to be very consistent. Your tone needs to be it. I need to capture your tone. Your audience needs to capture your tone. They need to capture it. They need to feel it. They need to identify it. You don't have to say who I am one day. They say who you are. If you're going to be a personal brand, people need to say who you are, not who I am. So you need to be very consistent across all boards. Any drop in this, any change in this will just damage the whole entire work you've done. And there's one thing, any change you drive off from the focus, you will have to retreat back to work again, and that's a lot of damage. It's very difficult. They're very difficult from a perception they have had of you to change them to a different perception. You have to change their behavior. So you need to be extremely careful. And a lot of people do this mistake. They claim something for the first month, then second month you find themselves switching something, third month they keep on changing their bios, they keep on changing their titles. You can't do this. Consistency is key. Simplicity is key. Focus is key. Once you do all this, you start owning it. See the point? Once you start owning that whole entire personal brand in your hand, from who you are, your experience, your value, your purpose, your communication, your messagings, and your tone, you own your domain. And now that cannot happen just because you're posting. That just cannot happen because you change your profile picture. That just cannot happen because you've appeared on TV. No, it takes a while. It takes a while, but you also need to be very passionate about it. So apply these 6 steps. Once you apply the 6 steps, and don't forget your insight. Your first step is the insight. Once you apply the 6 steps, and you drive it for a very long time, and not a day, months and months and months, you start realizing the results. Then go back and ask the same people the same question. What sort of perception do you have of me? And you will notice the difference. You'll notice the difference. I'm working on this video with all of you right now to simplify, because I care so much about you startups and how I want you to become leaders, and I'm sure that's your passion. But I've figured that a video would reach thousands and thousands of you. And we're going to do a lot of these videos again, both on personal brand and other stuff. This is the first part of personal brand. We're going to follow up again on future videos. I thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much.